Hello, everyone. Sorry for coming on a little later than I usually do, but I ran into a little trouble with my espresso machine. Believe it or not, never ever gave me an ounce of trouble in all the time I had it. And today, for some reason, it here comes Francesca. Today, for some reason, um, all the steam was coming out of the where the water comes out. So, all this water steam is coming out of where the coffee usually comes out, and there was no steam coming out of the spigot, which never happened before. So I unplugged it and I waited about 10 seconds. I waited for the whole thing to cool down. And then I plugged it back in and I pressed the button for the water to come out where steam was coming out before. And the water came out. I let that drain. And then I turned the knob for the steam and it worked. So, but I was in such a hurry that I didn't pour the steam, the milk in yet. So I can do that right now in front of you. So, see, you got to wait a little bit so the milk separates from the steam, and then that way the froth is left on top. And here's Francesca, who likes the milk. She likes the smell of the milk. So she's with us today. Isn't it great that Francesca's with us today? Francesca, you wanted to come and say hello to everyone? And I'm outside, as you can see. There's a much better view on Facebook of being outside than there's much better view on YouTube than on Facebook of the background. I think it's kind of washed out on Facebook from the light, but it's a much, I think, better view on YouTube. So this is Francesca. She joined us as John Tafone in his little introduction to the show that he made, put Francesca in. So she's like our little, like I said, I've had her since she was a kitten. She's a ragdoll cat, the kind of breed she is. I got her from New York, so Island specifically. So she's a fan. Isn't that incredible? What a coincidence that my cat is a Yankee fan. And you know what's incredible too? She's a Giants fan. She's from New York, but it's incredible though. Even though she's from New York, she's not a Jets, Mets fan, but she's a Yankee Giant fan. Huh? Are you a Yankee Giant fan? Yeah, she is. Well, she watches the games with me, right? So she wants to get down. You want to get down? Huh? Okay. All right. So you know what I also have, but I thought I would attempt to eat it, but I'm not going to. Let me see if I can get a better view for you, Facebook friends. Hang on. I don't know if that's gonna work, but it's still washed out a bit. So it really didn't work that much. But yeah, it's kind of washed out. You really can't see the background. But like I said, on YouTube, you can see the background pretty nicely. So anyway, you know what I have with me, and I was thinking about eating this like while I'm talking to you, but I have a Schwodiadel, and I got this Schwodiadel that because I usually, like I said, I don't have like bacon and eggs and pancakes and sausage and French toast and that kind of stuff, that kind of American stuff for breakfast. I never did. When I was a kid, I was at my aunt's house and she would always make a breakfast like that and I would eat it and I liked it. But, when I was home, we never really had like a breakfast like that. And I just never really got used to it. So I just get like a little, like something sweet in the morning, like a Schwodiadel or a cornetto, and that's why like when I go to Italy, I really feel like I fit right in because they do the same thing. And I wasn't doing this, but like I didn't go to Italy and then see what they do and imitate that when I came back. I always did this. I always had, and I never really had American coffee. I never really liked American coffee. So I just didn't drink anything. I didn't know about cappuccino and espresso. So and maybe I knew about espresso, but it was in the pots, like those percolated espresso, and those are okay, but they're not like the machine espresso that comes out and it gives a little like froth on the top. So I never really cared for like a espresso in the pot. Although, when I'm at someone's house or when I'm at somewhere where they have it, I like it and I drink it and I have no problem with it. I just prefer the machine kind. I think it's a lot better. So like I said, especially too, trying to eat the Schwodiadel right now. If I take a bite into it, because of all the powdered sugar on the top, I will have powdered sugar all over my cassock, and it will be a moment of scumbadi, as we say in Italian. In the dialect, we say it. Scumbadi is like embarrassed, like I may be embarrassed. That's something your mother would always tell you. Don't make me scumbadi, when we go in there, meaning, don't embarrass her. She's, if we act up or if we do something, we got the warning with the finger before we went somewhere that was kind of important or where she didn't want, to be embarrassed. Don't make me scumbadi. You understand? Go in there and behave. Right. So that was the warning that we had to behave. Well, let me say hello to everyone who's watching. I'm kind of a little late on that. Paul, great to see. I love the photos you post, Paul. They're great of your family, and congratulations. And it's just great. They're beautiful photos. And nice to keep up with everyone. Pia, buongiorno. I know you always watch, so great to see you. Glad you could watch. Like I said, I'm outside. I'm in the patio. Let me give you a little sneak look at it. Like I said, it's like it's a little washed out, the view from there. But this is the patio over here, and I have like a little fenced-in area in the back of the rectory, and a little hammock there. I took the top off that hammock because of the storm. I'm always worried about this fence in the storm. It's a plastic fence, and storms can do a number sometimes on them. So I'm always worried about the fence holding up. But what was the nice thing about the last storm was, if there is a nice thing, it wasn't raining, but it was windy. So I was sitting back here and I was smoking a cigar, and I was looking around, and the trees were swaying and everything. And, and you felt like you were in the storm, but, it wasn't that dangerous. And there are some very big trees that are like right near the rectory. And I was thinking, oh boy, if those trees go down, we're in big trouble. They're pretty big, and they're even leaning this way. I was even thinking I have a guy in the parish who's going to come by and trim, the trees for me, the branches, because they're hanging so low. I think the last time they were trimmed was like 10 years ago when Father Greg was here. So it was a while ago. So I'm going to take a sip of cappuccino in my cappuccino cup that I have here. È buona. It's good. I don't have illy right now. I have a lot of cans. I didn't run out. It's just someone gave me, what kind did they gave me another brand. So it was sitting there, and I thought, I don't want it to go to waste. So I opened it up, and I've been using that. It's just not as good as illy. Illy is the best. But it's just not. It's okay, but it's not as good. Ava Maria, hello. Great you're watching. Great to see that you're tuned in. Salvatore Capalbo, buongiorno. Good morning. Yeah, like I said, Ava Maria, are you saying yay because I'm outside? It's great to be out here. It really is. It's a really good, it's a beautiful day. I think I'll go to the beach because today is technically my day off. As Greece, we call it a day off, but it's kind of like 2 days. Like it's an overnight that most of us do. Thursday over Friday, we call it. So typically priests will leave if it's their day off at like noon or so. Like I'll leave, I think, after I pray the rosary. And and then maybe I'll pray the rosary on the beach. Wouldn't that be nice? We'll see. So then we take off sometime in the afternoon, or the early afternoon, early morning, late morning. I mean, early afternoon. And like we have an overnight. We take the rest of the afternoon off on the first day of our day off. We sleep over. Then we have that next day pretty much off. Sometimes we'll come in and have appointments on that next day, depending upon the situation. But when there's a funeral, of course, it kind of like moves all our plans around. But anyway, just thought I'd give a little inside track of what happens with priests, what we do on a day off. So grazia. Nice to see you. Glad you're watching. Hope the kids are having a good summer so far. Hope you guys have been able to get to the beach. I know how much they love it, especially Valentina. She seems like she's like a little like valley beach girl or something. So I'm sure she enjoys it. And I love the name Valentina. It's one of my favorite women's names. My best friend Sal, his grandmother was Valentina, and she was so beautiful. She was from Italy, and she really couldn't speak English that well, especially she died like in the late 70s. So she came here when in like the 20s maybe, or like a long time ago, and she was older when we remembered her, when we knew her. So she was like an elderly woman, but she still cooked and did, every Sunday she had all her family over her house. My friend would go there every Sunday, as I would go to my grandmother's house, and all his uncles would be there, and they all had a big Sunday dinner together. So Valentina, her last name was Carnevale. I don't know where she was from. She's probably from Campania somewhere, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, great you're watching. Buongiorno. Kelly Cabral, great to see you. Amy, glad you're watching. Great to see you. And Tammy, hi. Like I said, I always feel like romper room when I do this, but I just want to say hello to everyone. DeLauren, hi. Sue, oh, hi, cousin. Glad you're watching. My cousin, her father was my godfather, actually, and he was a character. But like I said, to say an Italian guy is a character is it's an oxymoron, because all my uncles were characters, every single one of them. I didn't have one uncle that wasn't a character, including my great uncles. They were all characters in the best sense of the term. They were just fun to be around, and always, just, making everyone laugh. And especially my Uncle Pat, he was Sue's father, my godfather. His name was Pasquale, but we called him, Pat. But my Uncle Pasquale was always singing and joking, and he was. And it's funny, because some of the songs that my uncle used to sing, I like Googled them, or like YouTubed them just to kind of hear him again. Like one of his favorite songs was "Kiss an Angel, Good Morning." And he would sing it all the time. You gotta kiss an angel, good morning. So I thought, let me look up that song. I've never heard it. I've never heard it sung by the original artist. And I never really heard it sung by a professional musician, a guy who's like, in a club or something, or in a bar singing. I only heard him sing it. So, my only recollection of that song is him singing it. You've got to kiss an angel, good morning. So I said, well, let me look up this song, and and I heard it. It's a nice song, but it was his favorite song. He sang it all the time. That one, and "Gentle on My Mind." My uncle loved the song. My father liked that song too, but I think my father probably liked it because his brother liked it so much. But my Uncle Pasquale loved the song "Gentle on My Mind." It was actually a John Denver song, I think, originally. And my favorite version of it is Dean Martin. Dean Martin sings a beautiful version of that song, "Gentle on My Mind." I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe Sue would know why her father, my godfather, loved especially those two songs. It's just knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. He, and that's, he always sang that. And then, listening to the whole song, it's an interesting song. It's kind of a strange song in a way. It's about a hobo, actually. It's about this, like the hobos of like the 40s, where they would travel the train tracks and they would be in the train yards and they would have stubble and have the little sack, on the end of their stick, that they would, hitch a ride on the trains and go from one train yard to the other. And when they get into town, they would kind of wander into town and try and get fed, by people and, who were, going to show them help, hospitality because they were poor and like a hobo. Um, but they were hobos. It's interesting because even though they were homeless and they were kind of like a lot of them chose to be that way. It was like a way of freedom for them. Like that's what I think this song is about. It's not like I think a lot of those 40 hobos were not like just down and out, totally like desperate homeless people who couldn't get a job. The 30s was a tough time to get a job, but I think it was a choice, like a life decision. Like I want to be free and I want to just travel the train tracks and just not have to shave every day and not have to have a job that I go to every day, not to have commitments, and that's what this song is about. It's about the the glorification, I say, or the explanation, let's say, maybe not glorification, but explanation of why a hobo would want to be a hobo, like why he would want to wander around and not have commitments and not have a job, because he didn't want to be held down, so. But then there's a sadness to it, because the hobo, of course, he realizes, I think, eventually that his life is unfulfilled. That you can't really find true freedom in believing that you should have no rules in your life and you shouldn't shave every morning and get dressed every morning and go to a job every morning. What you think is making you unfree by being you know by being shackled to these commitments, really is what frees you. What frees you is waking up every morning and shaving and getting to a job and accomplishing things and working, and having a relationship that you're committed to, that's sacramental, even as a marriage. And so it's kind of like the devil again. Like the devil tricks us, like he did Adam and Eve. Oh, bite this piece of fruit, that's very pleasant to the eye, and God is telling you, you know, not to eat it because he's jealous and he doesn't want you to be like him. You'll be like him if you eat this. And really, the opposite happened to them, because they were like him. They had the promise of eternal life. God created Adam and Eve to have eternal life, not to ever die, not to toil for their food, not to ever die, to live in a paradise state. They were like God in that sense, that they had immortality. And actually, that's what the devil does. He tricks us into thinking the opposite of what is the reality. So he was telling them, God doesn't want you to eat that fruit because because you'll be like him. And they already were like him. They had immortality. And the opposite happened. He tricked them because the opposite happened. But what Jesus did in God's plan is he turned the tables on Satan, and he tricked Satan because when the new Adam came into the world, and Jesus was born unto us on Christmas Day, and then rose as a child within the Holy Family, and then accomplished his mission of dying on the cross, Satan was all for the crucifixion, because he was thinking, this is another way, just like I got rid of Adam and Eve and tricked them into being disobedient to God, I'll do the same with Jesus. Like Adam, sin was caused by a tree, so I'll get God out of my way by a tree, by hanging him on a tree, and then I'll be rid of him. And so in the Passion, Satan is like laughing and saying, I can't believe I did it again. I fooled the old Adam, and now this new Adam has come along, and I'm gonna get him. And then Jesus dies on the cross, and Satan's like, okay, I accomplished it twice. But the trick was that when Jesus was dying on the cross, because he was dying a cursed death, according to God's law in Deuteronomy, anyone who dies on the tree is dying a cursed death. So what Satan didn't realize, and how he was tricked, was that Jesus was dying a cursed death because he was taking our curse of Adam and Eve on us on the tree. Just like the curse came to us by a tree, now the curse would be removed from us by a tree. So Jesus then takes on our curse and then is raised from the dead, because you can't kill God. See, that's what Satan was tricked about, that you can kill Jesus, but you really, he's not going to die forever because he's God. So God can't die. You can't kill God. If God was in front of you and you, God forbid, you wanted to kill him somehow by stabbing him, or he couldn't. He can't. He doesn't die. He always was, he is now, and he will be forever. So, that's how Jesus accomplished this mission. But he had to trick Satan. I mean, there was, you couldn't just give Satan your game plan. Jesus didn't say to Satan, all right, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to die on the cross, but really I'm not going to die. He didn't, like a football coach, isn't going to like go to the opposition coach and, tell him, look, these are the plans, that we're going to do. See these X's, the O's are you, and, the third down, when, we're going to come around and the quarterback is going to hand it off to this guy, you don't do that. So, so that's, why Christ died on the cross, for our sins. And then anyone who's baptized and who believes in him and performs corporal and spiritual works of mercy will be saved and will be with him forever in heaven. So, my whole point of this is what we're talking about, freedom. And, this hobo in this song, Gentle on My Mind. Like I said, the best version, I think, is Dean Martin's, but John Denver does a great job too with it. But Dean Martin's version is more of a swing version, which is more what my taste is. I like swing and big band and that kind of sound. So Dean Martin kind of incorporates that because that's his style. With John Denver, it's more of a folky, a guitar kind of folky song. But Dean Martin was a great folk singer. He really liked country and folk. He incorporated a lot of his music. He incorporated folk and country in his music. Houston, the song Houston, going back to Houston, that's kind of like another kind of wayward song of somebody, kind of a sad song, someone who's down and out and, a wanderer, just kind of looking for something. It's called Houston by Dean Martin. Just kind of a wanderer looking for love and looking for friendships and just kind of down and out and feeling like he's lost in the world and, like a wayward soul, kind of wandering the countryside of America, trying to discover who he is and what the purpose of life is, so it's kind of a very sad song. But Gentle on My Mind, though, like I said, it's a clever song and it's a very beautiful song and I enjoy listening to it. But like I said, it's a song about a hobo that's, really being tricked. And that's really what we, what our lives are about. When we don't have God and when we don't have commitment and when we don't have like commandments that we follow and like laws that we follow, God's laws and sacraments that we celebrate and stick to, our lives become adrift. We become like a piece of wood, that kind of like wanders off into the sea and it's just floating there and our life is adrift. And we think we're getting freedom if we get out of commitments and if we, kind of go from one commitment to another and think it's okay to just kind of, have multiple partners and, and that really, it sends us adrift. It sends our family adrift. It sends our children adrift. And then it's like a perpetual state of confusion in our lives. And then we realized later on, wow, what I thought was freedom was really ended up being shackling me and really being a source of frustration and lack of purpose and meaning in my life. and that's something that young people especially can be tricked about. I want to be free. I don't want to have these commitments of life and going to mass and being, um, I want to be spiritual and I don't want to be religious. I don't want to be conformed to a particular, Christian denomination that's going to um, impart on me, instill in me all of these rules. I just want to be free. And they realize later on that it's, their lives end up being anything but free when they take that philosophy to heart. And again, it's a trick that Satan uses, and that's why if you don't want to be tricked by Satan, follow God's commandments, follow His law, follow His commandments. If you don't want to be tricked by Satan, that's how, because you're thinking to yourself, well, Father, how do I know, not to be tricked? Well, look at what the church teaches, look at the catechism of the Catholic Church, see what it teaches, and then see the Bible, how it's interpreted by the church, and then follow it. And that's how we cannot be tricked. So, all right, let me start saying hello to friends of mine. James, wow, you're watching from a long distance away, defending our country. So it's great to have you tuned in. I talked to your mom. When I talk to her, I always ask for you and how you're doing and what's happening. And, so tell your family that I said hello, when you talk to them. And I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing them soon. Hopefully it can be soon. Virginia, hello. Josephine, hi. Sheila, good to see you. Glad you're watching. Buongiorno. Rosario, hello. Wonderful you're watching. Beautiful name. What a beautiful name, isn't it? Rosario. You have the name of the rosary. That's your name, Rosario. Beautiful. Anne, great to see you. Jean, Claudia. Hope everything is going well, Claudia. I got that message about what's happening, and you're in my prayers. And so know that you are certainly in my prayers. Yeah, Sue is saying that she misses grandma. I know. It was, we all miss her. It's sad, because when, you guys, Sue was my older, because I'm one of the younger cousins, because my father was the youngest in our family. And my grandfather was like older when he had my father, because he was the last of six. And I bet my grandfather was about like maybe 45 or something when he had my father. So we had him, so he was older. So all my cousins, were older, and they remember my grandmother, our grandmother, a lot, more. I mean, of course, I lived with her, and I was very, very close to her. And my first 15 years of my life, I saw her almost every day. And because like I said, I most of the year or part of the year, I lived with her. So I was so close to her. But still, though, I only really had her for the first 15 years of my life. And, but she lived with us too when I was little. So my very first memories were having my grandmother, be in the house, with us. She lived with my family. So, I mean, I was extremely close to her, but I still, not like my other cousins who, my grandmother watched them really grow up and get married, and, and which she didn't get to see me become a priest, or, she died when I was in high school. But she, my grandmother was something. She was something. God bless her. She's missed, that's for sure. So Vince, Nancy, great to see you. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Christina, Pardelli, great to see you watching. Maria, hi. Speaking Spanish to me. I don't. You're from Guatemala, so I don't know Spanish, but I'm glad you're watching. I hope you know English. Diane, great to see you watching. Kathy, hope everything's going well. Let me see. Sue is telling me he liked you. like I can't understand that message, Sue. He liked you, never how. Because D low or like a D if when you get back. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to rewrite that message. I can't read it. I guess maybe the spell check kind of messed up your message. But Sue, send me that message again. Marguerite, great to see you. Lorraine, glad you're watching. Michael, Mary Jane, hope everything's going well. All the way in Cumberland, Rhode Island. Rose, great to see you. Pat, great you're watching. So, like I said, I have a Schrodel, but and I had to get this from Providence because in Westerly we don't have Schrodel here, and I think because it's the Calabres don't eat Schrodel. They don't. It's not part of their. Italy is so regional, and there are certain things that are more popular in certain places like cannolis, come from Sicily, although they become very mainstream. And like the little rice ball, with the meat in the middle, that's fried, that's Sicilian, and so Calabrese typically won't make that. So around here, because they're Calabrese, they make things that Calabrese eat, from their diet that maybe you can't get in other parts where you don't have Calabrese people. So in Italy, the food is very, very regional, and it's very particular to the people who live there. Some things have caught on and become, major staples of their diet, like pizza. Pizza is from Naples, but really pizza is a favorite of all parts of Italy. They make it differently, than the people in Naples and then Calabria or in other parts. But it's pizza is so particular to the region. So the different regions have different brands of pizza. Like in Rome, the pizza, the crust is has like almost like a cracker quality. Like it kind of snaps and breaks. It's really not dough necessarily. I'm not sure how they make it, but it's it's more of like a snappy like bread, like that you eat and it crunches a little. It doesn't have much flour or consistency, and it's good. I mean, it's not that I don't like it. I like it, but I prefer a Napolitan pizza that's made with more of a dough to it than a kind of like a crunchy kind of. It's almost like a pita bread, but it's a crunchy kind of bread. Like it's not. It's different. It's a different consistency than they make in Naples. And it's particular to Rome. I mean, I can't remember. I'm trying to think if I've been in other places in Italy where the pizza is like Rome. Rome has its own kind of way of making it. She's saying that Veneto. Yeah, because Pia, where are you from? Because I forget. Because like where you have pride, people where they're from in Italy, they have pride in their food, and it means a lot to them. Not Napoli, yeah, of course. Well, yeah, people in Naples, they think no one can make pizza, as good or anywhere near as good as they can. It's their origins are from Naples, so of course they perfected it. And I have to say, I was in Naples, and my priest friend and I made friends with this couple in Naples. Actually, she's from my brother-in-law's town, from Santa Maria Castellabate. She's from near Salerno, along the shore, beautiful town along the Cilento coast, Santa Maria Castellabate, and he's from Naples. They met, I think he was vacationing from Naples down to the beach, and that's how they met, I think, because a lot of people from Naples go to Santa Maria Castellabate. Did you know that, Pia, that a lot of people, Monte Cassino, yeah, which is right near there. So that's how they met. So anyway, they got married and they moved to Naples, where he's from. And he's the driver of the funicular, the funicular car, that goes up the mountain. He's the driver of that. You know that song, Funiculo, Funiculi, Funiculo, Funicula. That song's about the car, that goes up the mountain side, and he's the driver of it. So it was fun to see him drive it as we're going up, and he was showing us Naples and everything. And he said, "This is the best pizza in Naples. Naples has great pizza all over, but he took us to the best place." He said, and I'm thinking, pizza's pizza. I'm from Rhode Island. Rhode Island has the most Italians per capita than any other state. We make great pizza. My two of my favorite places to go for pizza. Well, I would say three places to go for pizza is in Rhode Island is Rosa Mia, which I think is tremendous, and Johnston, and I love their pizza. I love the pizza in, in North Providence. Twins Pizza is excellent pizza. Down here we have great pizza. A lot of different pizza places around here. They're all good. Longo's makes a great pizza because Longo's makes a real good pizza, just like you would in Naples. When you eat that, it's the closest to Naples, I think, because part of his family's from Naples, the owner. So he got the oven from Naples, and then Vetrano's is good pizza, and Mario's is good pizza. Pizza Lady, so there are a lot of pizza places in Westerly that are really, really good. But my two favorite up north are Rosa Mia and Twins. Tommy's is a good pizza too on Chuckstone Avenue. That's a good pizza. But it's nothing like the pizza here is not like what they make in Italy. And the Italians, when they come here, I let them taste it because I want them, to experience Italian American pizza, and they like it. It's good. And they enjoy it. But it's just not like the pizza in Italy or especially Naples. So we go to this place in Naples, and we and I'm thinking to myself, look, I'm an Italian American. I know pizza. I know what it. My great aunts made pizza, and they made it really tremendously. And my mom never made pizza, but my grandparents didn't make pizza either. It was my great aunts, that made pizza. For some reason, my grandmother never really made it. She made a lot of great things, but both my grandmothers never made pizza. But anyway, so I go into this place that this funicular driver takes us to, and I order it, and I'm thinking, pizza in Italy is tremendous, but it's a lot of So I eat it, and I was like, holy cow, this is the best. He was right. It just was really, really awesome, and you could taste the difference. Like in this place, even in other places in Naples, and especially other places in Italy, it was the best pizza I ever had. Was in this pizzeria in Naples. It was really great. Someone's mentioning, Dana is mentioning that she likes Rosa Mia. Yeah, Rosa Mia. It's great. It's great pizza. It's awesome. Like I said, in Twins up there too is they both have distinctive taste. They're different too. Rosa Mia is a much thicker pizza, and the restaurant attached to Rosa Mia, Silvio's, is tremendous Italian food there. It's a real frequent place that priests like to go to Silvio's, especially Italian American priests. We have our spots, that we scope out, and we, because it's really good. And that's, we're as Italians, we're just trying to find food as good as our grandparents made, our grandmothers, and we can't, but we try, and some places come really close. And that's the ones we like to go to, even though they'll never cook as good as our grandmothers, never, So anyway, I have this sfogliatelle, but like I said, I'm not courageous enough to take a bite into it and have all the powdered sugar go all over my cassock and have to be embarrassed in front of everyone as I'm eating. Unfortunately, the view to YouTube, I was bragging about it, but it got worse because the sun came, so I'm a little dark in that, shadowy in that view. I apologize for that. I think the umbrella kind of doesn't help either. I have the umbrella up. Let me see if I can put the umbrella down. If that would improve things if I put the umbrella down. see if that would improve the picture. No, I don't think that mattered much. No, it didn't. I mean, it helped a little, I guess. It helped a little, but not much. I guess it's just shadowy, which is nice here. It's really, really nice here right now. It's one of the best mornings we've had that you can actually sit outside and not be really hot. So maybe after this, and before I go to the beach, I'll smoke a cigar out here. That'd be nice. I haven't had a day off. You can see how excited I am about having a day off, because I haven't had a day off in weeks. So anyway, hope you have a very good day today, and I hope you enjoy your Thursday, and hope everything is going well, and know you're in my prayers too. I've been, it's a great thing about praying in the oratory together is that we can pray for very special intentions and important things, because it's there's so much going on in the world that we need to pray for. There's so much sadness that's going on, and difficulties and tragedies, and in the midst of all this, with prayer, we've been persevering, incredibly well. It really is incredible to see, how people are coming together and seeing, like, considering the violence that's going on and the looting and this is all a strategy of why they're doing this. This is all a strategy. You wonder why governors and mayors aren't taking more hold of their towns, and of their cities. Why they're not, enforcing, law and order. Why they're allowing their cities to burn, and this is all a strategy to, for a purpose. And so hopefully that makes sense to you, because you're thinking, why is this happening? Why did a virus come to us, from China? And why are there mayors and governors that are stopping businesses from opening? And why kids from going back to school? Why are mayors and governors allowing riots and businesses to be burnt to the ground, and windows to be smashed, and looting to take place? Why is all this happening? And there are answers. It's all part of a grand strategy, to influence the elections. So we can't let them do that to us. We can't let them bully us, because particular people didn't get their way in politics, and their candidate didn't win, or their philosophy is losing in the world. They become bullies, and they become intimidators, and they become people who are going to, by force, take power. And we can't let that happen. We can't let that happen. We have to stand tough and stand strong, and say, I'm not going to be bullied. I'm not going to be forced by violence into submission, or by a foreign country unleashing biological warfare. I'm not going to allow that to persuade me to abandon my philosophies and my beliefs, and my political views, because of because of someone, and some people, wanting to take over through force. So this is kind of the state in which we're in. It's kind of the situation in which we find ourselves. But that's why it's great how much fortitude there is out there, and how much strength and how much courage to persevere. And, just, you don't have to give your political opinions. You don't have to answer polls when they call, and, just, go out there, place your vote, and we'll do so quietly. And because, we don't loot and destroy property and damage people's, businesses. And that's not what we do. on our side. On our side, when we have the March for Life, for example, we march peacefully through the streets of DC, praying the rosary. Priests and bishops are with us, and they're marching side by side, and we're all there, loving our enemies and praying for our persecutors and praying for an end to abortion. And, it's just a peaceful love fest of no damage, no property damage. I always say this. Could you imagine if the March for Life in DC that happens in January, could you imagine if the, 400,000 people there or 500,000 people there marching, could you imagine if they, along the way, were looting, damaging property, setting things on fire, causing violence in the streets, causing violence against police? Could you imagine how we would be viewed among the press and the mainstream media? they would they would crucify the pro-life movement. They would call us every name under the book, and they would get public opinion so angry with us that we could never have another march. And yet the other side wants to march and do all of those things I described, and they're heroes, and they're people who are just trying to vent because they're angry. This is what they're saying to us. They're saying, look, you got to let them vent. You got to this is what they're doing. This is what I hear the left say to me, oh, who are my friends? Look, you got to let them vent. They're angry, they're upset. Well, we're angry about millions of babies being killed every year, and our government allowing it. We're angry about that. So why can't we vent? No, you can't vent. You can't vent. You have to march peacefully, and even that, we're going to basically barely tolerate you. We're not going to cover it in the press. You never see the pro-life march covered in the media. As many hundreds of thousands of people there are, we're never covered in the press, in the mainstream media. I asked once, I said to a reporter, why don't you ever cover the March for Life? There's no word about it. Hundreds of thousands of people gather in DC, and you never mention it in the press. And you know what her answer to me was? It was very interesting. She said, we don't cover annual things that take place. Like if an annual march takes place, we don't cover it because it happens every year. Well, what about these marches here? These protests, they're covering them all the time. So, and they're putting a good spin on them, of terrible damage that's taking place. But look, don't worry about it. Jesus says, do not let your hearts be troubled. You have faith in God, have faith in me. And then he tells us, come to me, all you who are weary and find life burdensome, and I will refresh you. Take my yoke upon your shoulders and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart. For your souls will find rest, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. There are my friends who are calling me, who were panicking, and who were saying, oh, what are we going to do? This looks really bad for us. And, the polls, are telling us that this is going to be a disaster in November, and oh my goodness, our country is going to go to part, and these people are going to take over, and then there's going to be rioting in every street on every major town. And I'm like, don't worry about it. It's going to be a landslide. It's going to be a landslide, and in our favor, a landslide, because people are not saying it. It's interesting. There was a poll when Dukakis was running against George Bush. There was a poll, George Bush the first, senior. And at this time of year, Dukakis was up 55% to Bush 35%. The polls, every single election, if you look and see the presidential elections, the Republican winning in those elections, I bet you that it'll be the same thing every time. That at this time of year, no Republican incumbent is ever up in the polls, and yet they end up winning. But see, what happens is these pollsters, what they do is, like, they put Dukakis up 55% to 35, and they were telling everyone Dukakis was going to win, just to discourage Republicans and discourage the right, and then to make people maybe not want to go out to vote or think it's pointless or just be down. No one wants to see their candidate so far down and they get discouraged. But what they do, though, the polling places don't want to be that wrong. So what they do is they get more honest toward the closer to the election, because then they'll really have egg on their face after the election if they continue with these polls being. But you can't hold their feet to the fire because you don't know. They'll say, "Oh no, George Bush just covered up that gap." That's what they'll tell you. Is well, we were right, 3 months ago. It's just George Bush covered. He just closed in on that gap, and that's why we were showing 55 to 35. But that's not the truth. The truth is that they manipulate these polls so that they'll look like Republicans are losing and that you'll be so discouraged and there's no chance. That man in his basement the people of America who can't even, it seems, articulate his points without confusion. And you see the latest one today, he was interviewed and he was talking about China and he got confused. He called Trump China and China Trump. So people are just sitting there and they're just not going to go for this. And even places like California and New York, you watch and see, because they're fed up. People in California are fed up. New York, they're fed up. Now Governor Cuomo is going on TV and he's begging wealthy businesses to come back to New York. He's telling them that he'll cook for them. He'll cook for these wealthy people if they bring their businesses back at the governor's mansion. And I'm sure he's a good cook. He's Italian. He's I'm sure he's a good cook. But I don't think that's going to persuade them. They can go to a beautiful Italian restaurant, and find or hire, if they're that wealthy, they can hire, a very good Italian chef to come to their house. So I don't think really that's going to persuade them, but you can see him begging people to come back to New York, wealthy people. And it's interesting because, he's been spending all this time up to this point, happy when Donald Trump left New York and moved. He's all happy. Oh, good, we got rid of him. And, when all these businesses that are right-leaning businesses, when they leave, they're like, oh, good, we didn't like them anyway. If you're not pro-abortion, then don't even bother living in New York and believing that you should even have a right to be here. This is what they're saying. And now their states are falling apart. They want Congress now and the Republicans to bail them all out of problems that have nothing to do with COVID. And they want to just put in these stimulus things to bail out these blue states. And we're supposed, and everyone is supposed to pay for their mistakes. You see commercials on telling the Senate, the Republicans in the Senate to help these states, that are in big trouble. And then you look at the bottom line and it says paid for by state and city officials. Of course, they want their pensions, they want but you can't live a life on a credit card, which is what these blue states have done. So all of this is, to discourage us and to think we don't have hope and to not get out there, but it's not going to work because people in California, even in New York, and people in Illinois, and they're fed up. They're fed up with the violence. They're fed up with their politicians turning their back on them and doing nothing to support them and their safety. And they're sick of cops being mistreated and being vilified. They're sick of it. And they're just not saying, no one's saying anything because they're afraid. And so everyone is just quiet. We're all being very quiet. We're just going to go out to vote and there's going to be a big landslide. So just don't worry about it. Just trust me. I've been around politics a long time and I know a thing or two. I could be wrong. I could maybe be on Cappuccino with Father Capoverdi after the election saying, well, you know what, I guess I didn't get it right. But I'll be surprised if I have to do that. I'm not saying I might not have to do that, but I'll be very, very surprised. As a matter of fact, I won a bottle of wine, actually, the last election in 2016. There was a guy who, thought just like me politically, but he just didn't think that, that we would win in 16. And he was like, I'm agreeing with you, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Don't get your hopes up. And I said, I will, believe me. And we bet a bottle of wine. And then I ended up enjoying a nice bottle of wine after the election. So believe me, I know a thing or two about politics. And I think I have a really good knack for like figuring things out. And that's what I really believe is going to happen. So, and then especially too, just don't lose heart, and even if God forbid, the elections don't go our way nationally in November, God forbid, if I'm wrong, I think I have a 10% chance of being wrong. So if I'm in that 10%, chance of being wrong, then we still can't worry about it. We still have to remember that the important thing is, even if our country is in the hands of these radicals, and violence is happening in every street corner, and look at my poor city of Providence, and they just had a police protest in Providence. Why? Providence police are great guys. They're great guys. My mother was a crossing guard for many years and is a part of the police department. And so it gave me, and plus working for the two mayors of Providence, I got an opportunity to look at them close up, and they're great guys. What's great about the Providence police too is they're not, they're just good men who, if they stop you, they're not going to hassle you. They're just good guys. They're like, just slow down. Or just, like, they're good guys. They know that there's a lot of crime that they have to fight. There's a lot of people out there that need their help, and they're focused on that. And they're just great men. The Providence police, and to protest against them, how sad, because, I love the Providence Police Department. And growing up in Providence, I never had to deal with them much because I didn't get into trouble where the police would, arrest me or anything. But I just, from growing up in that city, I know how professional they were and how much pride they took in doing the right thing. And nice guys. Like, they were cops, but they were just nice guys. Like, you can tell they were from good families who, were just trying to do the right thing and help people. And I don't know. That's always been my experience with that. Matter of fact, when I was a kid, I always loved the police. I never really wanted to be a police officer. Like, I wasn't a kid that wanted to be a police officer or a firefighter. I loved fire trucks when I was a little kid, but I never wanted to do that necessarily. But I always loved the police. So I remember once we were driving, and there was a police officer that was nearby, and I waved to him from the car, because I wanted to wave, because I just like police officers. So I was like waving to him, and my father was like, "Don't do that. Put your hand down." I'm like, "Why?" And he said, "Don't wave." I'm like, "Why?" And he said, and he was right. My father said, "Because the police officer might think that you're trying to get his attention because you're in trouble in the car, and then he'll stop us." I was like, and it made sense. I understood what my father was talking about, that I shouldn't have, probably not a good idea for a kid to do that, because again, he might look and say, "Oh no, that kid's in trouble," or maybe that's a signal, that I should stop them. So I can understand where my father was coming from, but it was my instinct, though, as a kid, just to see a police officer and thank him and wave, because I wanted to, appreciate what he was doing, even as a kid, So like I said, if they want to defund the police in Providence, and they want to, I know it's going to cause a lot of, heartache and a lot of violence, and we're going to live in a very, very horrible world. But still, though, we have to remember that Christ is in charge, and that he loves us. And that's the important thing, that we have faith, and that we have our religion, and we have our Catholicism, and we have our Eucharist, and we have our sacraments. And that's all that matters. I mean, there are people who lived in Europe who were Catholic during World War II, under terrible, terrible, horrible circumstances. There were people who lived in the Great Depression and had to undergo terrible circumstances, and socialism that took over in the 30s and 40s. It was World War II that got us out of the Depression, not any of the social programs. If anything, they probably, made complicated matters in the 30s. So, in early 40s. So, people had to live under very, very difficult circumstances in life, and we might have to, too. I don't think it's going to happen, and I would bet a bottle of wine, that I'm right. I have about a 90% chance I think I'm right. I think there's going to be a lot of red on the map, come election night. But, again, I could be wrong. But if I am, then we just have to pray. We have our oratory, to comfort us, and we have God, to be in prayer, to be with us. Look at Thomas More. He lived he grew up in England that was just as Catholic as Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, just as Catholic, and he had to watch his country fall apart. and embrace the Reformation and embrace a king that was crazy and wanted to establish his own church and force everybody to do it or they'd be beheaded, which Thomas More was eventually because he wouldn't acquiesce and deny the Pope's authority. I mean, look, imagine living in that time in England where you're Catholic and you want to stay Catholic, but the king has made a decree that if you're Catholic, it's illegal and you'll be beheaded. You know, if you're caught attending mass or a priest is caught celebrating mass, the Catholic mass, the penalty is death. Imagine living in that time. And again, I think if the election really doesn't go our way, it's going to be really, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen to us that are really going to force us to have to, you know, do things that we're not going to want to do as Catholics because it's against our religion. But the government is going to be coming down on us pretty hard. So we're just going to have to be martyred, or we're going to have to be underground or whatever. But you know, because the government is, if people win who have opposite views of us, this is what their goal is, to eliminate Catholicism from America and the mass, you know, and they don't mind Catholicism as long as it's kind of a liberal leftist version of Catholicism, a communist kind of version, and then they don't mind. You know, if a priest is preaching things that are opposite the church's teaching, you know, they're fine with that. But if you're preaching what the church is teaching, they're not going to be happy with that, and they'll get people to support them. There's no doubt about it, because people, you know, a lot of people have different opinions about the church's teaching, the official church's teaching, and they'll be more than happy, you know, to help persecute the church because they're fostering beliefs that the church teaches that they have the opposite view. So they'll be happy to see the church be suppressed because they disagree too with the church's teachings, especially on moral issues. So you know, we've seen it before, you know, and we have to. Are we going to be John Fisher and Thomas More, or are we going to be like 99% of the bishops in England who signed the oath of supremacy, declaring the king the head of the Church of England and not the Pope? 99% of the bishops who are Catholic bishops loyal to the Pope signed the oath of supremacy, declaring King Henry VIII the head of the Church of England and not the Pope. So are we going to be like the 99, or are we going to be like the 1%, St. John Fisher and St. Thomas More? I say we have to be like St. Thomas More and John Fisher and Bishop John Fisher. And they're our great inspiration for us during very difficult and lean times. I don't think we're going to get to that point. Like I said, I think the election results are going to be very much in our favor, and it's going to be a landslide. But anyway, if we are in that if I am wrong, when I believe I could be wrong, but about 10%, then, you know, we like I said, we have to be like John Fisher and Thomas More. Stick to our principles, stick to our guns, stick to our theology, our moral theology. Family members are not going to be happy with us because they disagree with the church's teaching on things, and relatives are not going to be happy with us because they disagree with the church's teaching on moral issues. But isn't that what Christ said? You know, I've come for the sword. You know, I have not come to bring peace, but the sword. You know, mothers will be against sons, and sons will be against mothers, and mother-in-laws will be against daughter-in-laws, and children will be against their parents. You know, this is what Christ predicted would happen when push comes to shove, and when people have to defend their faith and defend their belief, their true orthodox beliefs that Jesus Christ gives us through the church. So these are all things that we have to anticipate and expect. I don't think we'll be, at least in the next 4 years, in that situation, but we could be after that. And, you know, I always believe that. I always believed in like later on in my priesthood, I believe this early on in the early 90s. I believe that someday in my man, it disconnected. Sorry, the video disconnected. Something happened where it just disconnected. But I always thought that in my day later on in life, I would have to deal with, very harsh realities. And would I be up to it? And please God, I hope I am. So I hope we all are. That's something we all have to pray for, that we're all up to it and up to the challenges that may exist in the future. We have to pray. And that's why praying in the oratory is so very important. And so I'm going to say goodbye now. It's almost 10:30. Colleen, nice to see you watching. Sherry, nice to see you. This will be part 2 because, like I said, something happened to part 1. So I'll just, call this part 2 of Cappuccino with Father Capoverdi. Like I said, I had a bad connection. Who isn't it interesting too that I was shut off at that time. But anyway, I'll see you at the oratory for prayer, and I'll see you at Mass during the week and weekends, confessions that we hear, and then we'll have Cappuccino with Father Capoverdi again very soon next week. So God bless everyone. Amy, Jean, God bless. Great to see you watching, and great to see all of you watching, and have a blessed morning, and enjoy. If you're in Rhode Island, or at least in Westerly, I don't know what it's like up in northern Rhode Island, but we have a beautiful day here. So enjoy it, and God bless. Ciao. Buona giornata. Hi, beautiful. Hi. Hi, beautiful. Oh, I forgot. I didn't shut off on YouTube. You're watching me eat. You know something? I'm doing pretty well too. I don't have powdered sugar all over me. Then you're seeing me talk to Francesca. Hey, beautiful. So this is like after the show. This is like, how they have like the show, and then there's like the after show if you want to tune into it. This is like the after show. So so you're watching me eat the sfogliatelle and see Francesca here. She's interested. I don't know if she'll like the sfogliatelle. I have to see if she likes it. So anyway, have a good day. Sorry about that. You got to see a little bit of behind the scenes of Cappuccino with Father Capoverdi. And again, another peek at Francesca here. She's kind of eyeing the sfogliatelle. I'm going to give her a little bit and see if she'll eat it. So have a good day, everyone. Buona giornata. God bless. Francesca.